tell you what I remember. Some of it anyway. You remember it differently, maybe. Yes, I am okay. Just really, I'm okay. It's darkness I remember most. I was always afraid of it. Yet I always searched out the shadows, hiding in spaces, craving to be unseen. I used to spend hours sitting on the stairs, listening for the slamming of the door, peering through gaps in doorways, waiting for something to break. One to break. Then at night I'd pull the sheets right over my head to shut out the light, shut out the anger, the pain. I wanted to cover myself in the very darkness I was afraid of. And after all the noise, the crashing, the screaming, the shouting, there'd be silence. Empty, cold, brutal. Astonishingly beautiful. I remember seeing you once when you thought I wasn't looking. Jet black tears streamed down your face from red, worn out eyes. You looked like a clown with all that runny mascara and blue eyeshadow. But you were never funny. Nothing was ever funny. We never exchanged words after the rows, did we? Looks, plenty of those, but never words, nothing explained. Do you remember those precious, wonderful days when we were alone? I think we might actually have been happy, me and you. Imagine. You used to smile on those days. I remember thinking that your smile was fragile, secretive, like too scared to come out fully into the world. Happiness never lasted long, did it? A few moments here and there, that's all we ever had. And I held on to them. Tiny fragments of you that I used to grab hold of and cling on to. I wanted to be there forever. But they were only ever fragments. I always knew that. Do you know, I felt sorry for you. Do you know that? Angry too that you allowed it to happen time and time again. But you know what? And this might surprise you. It might give you some comfort. I'm not angry anymore. I don't think so. Don't know. I really don't know. Maybe I am sometimes. Yes, of course, you were sorry. You were always sorry, weren't you? Sorry to me, sorry for him, sorry for yourself. You still. I remember it all so clearly. I can tell by your expression that you do too. How can you not? What I remember more than anything was the day you said goodbye. You could have said anything. You could have lied, said nothing at all, but you said goodbye. I remember the word hung in the air like a sparrowhawk, and it swooped down and buried itself deep inside me. Just a simple word that people say all the time. A word without meaning and full of meaning at the same time, but a meaning I could never understand. It sounded so strange coming from you, like it should have been coming from someone else. I held on to the thought that it wasn't your voice for a long, long time. It wasn't what you really meant. It was too final. You could have said another one. I'm sorry, or I just want to sort out my life, or you could have said, I love you. You could have said, you love me. You could have said nothing. But you said goodbye. Is that how you remember it too? Is it? Really? You won't know anything about them, of course, but I remember all the places I lived after you'd gone. Most of them were okay, actually. Yeah, I thought you'd like to hear that. Nice families trying really hard to make life better for me. I suppose I was easy to deal with most of the time. I am a little ashamed of that now. I tried to trace a couple of the families just to say thank you, to show that I did appreciate what they did for me. Never stayed very long with any of them. Everything was always going to be temporary, and I knew that, and I understood that. They couldn't hang on to one child for too long, couldn't become too attached, so they kept me moving. And yes, I thought about you a lot. Of course I did. I always wondered what you might be doing, where you might be living, whether you'd gone back to him, whether you had a new family, whether you were still alive. Oh, I have to tell you this because you love this. I used to sing in the school choir, you know, act and plays, that kind of thing. Yeah, me, that shy, nervous little girl that hid in shadows. Quite a talent for it, was said. I used to look at every face in the audience just in case you were there. But I knew that you never were going to be, of course, so I would pick someone out to be you, someone I thought was watching me, and I'd perform to them. When they clapped at the end, I imagined it was just for me because they were so proud. And then at the end of the play, they'd be waiting outside and their kid would go running into their arms. I knew it was never going to be you that was waiting for me. Never. No, don't say you wish you could have been there. Just don't. Hey, imagine if we were on that telly programme where they put together long lost families. We'd hug at this point, wouldn't we? We'd cry, sit uncomfortably for a few minutes, holding hands across the table, and you would say that you'd made the biggest mistake of your life, and I would say that I understand and it doesn't really matter anymore, only the future matters. Water under the bridge, all of that. And at the end of the programme there'd be this like caption at the bottom of the screen saying that we kept in touch and that you were looking forward to meeting your grandchildren. Yeah, you're a grandmother. Twice over, in fact. Their names. Do you remember when we went to the seaside for the first time on our own? It wasn't very long after he'd left and you told me everything would be okay, and I believed you. I really did. You looked so happy then, happier than I'd ever seen you. You ran screaming across the beach and into the sea, and I held my breath as the cold water hit my chest, and you stood there laughing, throwing your head back, splashing water all over me. You said that whatever happened, I would always be your little girl. The happiest moment of my life. Yours too, I thought. And then the next day, I'm fine. I really am. Just give me a moment. It's funny, I never pictured you growing old. Sometimes on good days I'd see you in my mind running on the beach, splashing about in the sea. But normally when I thought about you, you were standing in that grey, bare walled room saying goodbye. You wore a blue coat and a thick red scarf with feathers design, and you had black trousers and those little red boots that matched the scarf. It's funny, I can remember details like that, but I can't remember the look on your face. I can't remember if you were crying. Were you? First I thought you'd come back, take me home the next day or the next week. Then a few months went by. I'd ask if they'd heard from you, but all I'd ever received as an answer was a smile. They'd walk away like they were scared or something. Then after a couple of birthdays and Christmas had gone by, I knew you wouldn't be coming back. I don't know if they ever tried to find you. Never asked. You've done well to find me after 40 years, I'll give you that. My God. How long have I waited to see you again? I never, ever thought I would. You're greyer than I imagined. And you still wear blue eyeshadow. You think I've done well. You can tell. Well, I have. And yes, I do look good. I take care of myself. I have a nice home, a successful career, 2 ex-husbands, 2 lovely kids, 2 grandchildren. Do I understand? I'm sorry. Are you really asking me if I understand? I understand it wasn't easy for you. I was there, remember? I know what he did. And the bits that I saw, I can imagine the rest. No, you didn't have it easy. I know that. But do I understand why you abandoned me? No, I don't. I never understood. You couldn't cope. Well, after he'd left us. I thought that's what you always wanted. Was it me? Was I the problem? Did you cope when I had gone? And I'm not blaming myself, not for any of this. I was the child, remember? Actually, I did at first. I did blame myself. He'd left us, he'd left me. I was the common factor. And then one day I realised so were you. And I stopped being so hard on myself. It's only when you have kids of your own that you begin to see things more clearly, isn't it? I look at you, my 2, and I know I could never leave them. I know my life turned out differently to yours, and I made sure of that, but I could never imagine leaving them. I could never imagine saying goodbye to them, never. So to answer your question, no, I don't understand. I never will understand. And I do have a question I've always wanted to ask, and I want an honest answer. It was my dad, wasn't it? I mean, my real dad. I've often wondered. I don't think about him much, but sometimes I catch like a scent of someone as they pass by, or I hear a voice and it reminds me of him. Did you think he ever tried to find me? Did you see him again after me again? I mean, did you go back to him after I'd gone? No, I'd rather not hold hands. You're crying. I expected that. People do in these situations, don't they? At this point, the camera would zoom in on your face and linger there for maximum emotional impact. Make great TV. I would throw my arms around you and you would burst into tears too and tell me I love you. I don't actually. Cry. I mean, well, when it's stupid films, but never about real life. Used to, a lot. Not these days. These days, my life is good. I think I've said enough. There's lots more I could say, lots of questions I could ask you. I mean, I should ask if I have any brothers or sisters. Actually, no, don't. Please don't tell me. That would make this moment very difficult. I'd always hoped I'd see you again. I never wanted to find you, but I always hoped that you'd find me, and now you have. And I'm so glad you have. I've waited for this moment for so long. Just me and you after all these years. And you know, whenever I have imagined this meeting, this one precious moment, there's only one word I've ever really wanted to say to you, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for giving me the opportunity to say it.